Hey y'all, it's Wild Riley back at it, propagating some pomegranate. When I prune my pomegranates, I try to prune the middle out of them and kind of limb them up a little bit, maybe about knee high, eliminate some of the lower branches. Pomegranates get pretty heavy on those thin little wiry branches, and it brings all of them down to the ground, and then crabgrass and things grow up all around them. So when I trim them, I trimmed 2 pomegranate trees today. Actually more like bushes. And I take those clippings and I cut them at about 30 degree, 40 degree angle, something like that. Not too steep, but not too shallow, not 90 degrees. And then I dip them in raw honey and stick them in potting soil. And you can see I stick them about, I don't know, 3 to 4 inches apart. And I did maybe 11 or 12 of these 5-gallon buckets, or 5-gallon planter pots. And it's kind of like a numbers game. So, you know, a couple years ago I'd put so much love and care into each single one, only to find out that the ones that I kind of left over there and just did it in a rush, those are the ones that kind of made it better. So I don't know if it has to do with the perfect time of year and the weather and everything like that, but it is a numbers game. So I did put a lot of care into them. I cut them and dipped them in honey and pushed a hole into the dirt with a stick so that I didn't rub dirt into the fibers of the wood. I'm going to sit them here in dappled sunlight underneath the elderberry bushes, and you know, it's winter here in Central Coast, so they'll get medium sunshine. They'll get, you know, a little bit, and they're already breaking their buds anyway. Like, look at that. So if I can harness that and get them to start going into root and start to produce roots, and they'll begin growing. Once they begin growing, then it's time to, I'll let them grow pretty good. I'll probably let them grow halfway into the summer, at least till the end of spring. Then I'll rinse the roots off and separate them into their individual 5-gallon planter pots. So you can see, like, you know, probably done a few hundred of them. If, you know, half of them make it, that's great, because I don't have a few hundred pots. But you know, I get a couple hundred that make it. Then go down to Home Depot and see how much it costs to buy a pomegranate tree. It's like, I don't know, 30 bucks, $29 or something, plus tax. And then if you are paying tax, you should tell them, hey, this is a food item. In California, at least, you don't pay tax on food, even if it's on a fruit tree. Well, they'll try to charge you tax, but you're not supposed to. I've had them eliminate the tax by just telling them, informing them that fruit trees don't require paying sales tax. They get us enough over here in California. But here's some more of the same. You can see I stuck, actually that one has roots. That one didn't, but it began growing. These are all pomegranates, right? I've been cloning pomegranates for like 5 years now, and it's a little bit of a challenge. It's not the easiest thing to propagate, but it is pretty easy. I would say figs are a lot easier if you want to get into cloning. These ones are in the shade, so I moved them over here, more into the sun. And here's like an example of what it looks like after a season or two. So I did these last fall, and the equinox happened. They began growing. Now the solstice just went by, so they're kind of going dormant, but some of them are kind of alive because I have a blend of early wonderful and regular wonderful pomegranate. So early Wonderful, they tolerate the cooler climates, it seems like. They begin leafing out and stuff, blooming, fruiting more in spring, and the regular Wonderful pomegranates are a little bit more sleepy, so they go dormant sooner, and it's just a straight mix. Even what they label at the nursery, or wherever you acquire them, it's probably not extremely accurate. They're wonderful pomegranates, but some of them do go dormant sooner than others, and maybe I'll do a separate video on that. But just wanted to show you kind of what I'm up to. So all these little pomegranates I'll grow them out for probably into May or June. Then I'll sort out the roots. I don't want the roots to get too tangled up. That's why I got to separate them at a certain point. And I'll put them into their own 5-gallon pots, and then they'll spend the next year and a half in that 5-gallon pot. With pomegranates, I've also learned that if you plant one like this, like a puny little guy that I just rooted this year, you stick that in the dirt, it's not going to have enough roots to survive. They just don't make it unless you irrigate them and nurse them and baby them the whole way through. It's better just to leave them in the pot for an extra year after you propagate them, so they can really develop some roots, kind of toughen up, get those stalks a little thicker, and then you're golden. Then you can, after the first or second year, you can go stick them in the ground, and they'll take another year or two to get some momentum too. They don't just put them in the ground and expect fruit the same year. So the process that I started here, this is year 5, and I'm starting to get pomegranates now. So another cool thing about pomegranates is they're the last thing to fruit. Their fruit is ready in late November, early December in my region when it starts getting cold and rainy. So kind of cool. One final hurrah, and they make excellent wine. All good reasons to do pomegranate, so you're not harvesting everything in August or September. All your apples and oranges and plums and peaches and tangerines and nectarines and everything like that. You want to kind of scatter out your harvest on your homestead so you have a little bit of fruit all the time and not all the fruit all at once. But then you also have to put in the work. So you want to preserve your fruit. Make jams, jellies, wines, beer, anything you can to preserve it. Kind of a superstition of mine, but if you do the best with what you got, then you're complimenting nature, you're complimenting your creator. You're giving thanks by not letting things go to waste. Also the animals, the potbelly pig, the horses, when we had goats, the kids, they're all getting in on it, so they're all enjoying the fruit. And so it's a good time. But definitely don't put all the pressure on canning all in one season, because then you're going to be stuck having to can all that all at the same time, and more likely than not you and your spouse are going to be like, forget it, it's too much, we have to go to work and stuff, and then you're going to abandon the project and your fruit will spoil. At least this way, if you're too busy for pomegranates and they all crack open and rot, well, okay, so you lost your pomegranate harvest this year, but you got peaches, you made peach preserves, and you got plums and apples and the rest of it, right? Almonds maybe. But it kind of gave you a break. And then when you get into the habit of regularly canning, it happens a couple times a year. You learn how to preserve your food long enough to where you have time to can it. So when I pick the peaches will spend a month or two in the fridge without spoiling. They're extremely good at preservation when they're in the fridge. And then I just canned them. I'd take them out, let them ripen a little bit, and then can them as soon as I was ready. So you start learning those little tricks. So I'm planting pomegranates all over the property. I'm planting these elderberry trees all over the property. Right here there's like a little peach pit or a cherry pit or something that I stuck in a pot and it grew. So it's got a tap root. That thing's gonna get full size because it's not on a root stock. Same thing over here. Another cherry tree, so it has a buddy. Got the blueberries. Blueberries kind of struggle here. I don't know if they just need time like a pomegranate to get rooted in. You know, aloe vera. It's a food forest, man. You're working on it. Once you get started, it's a project. So, anywho, I hope this inspires you to give it a shot. It's a numbers game. Don't feel bad if your batch didn't take root. Happens to me all the time. Actually, if I go over here, this was a whole patch of whips and canes and different types of pomegranates and plums and peach, you know, shoots and everything when I pruned the trees last spring or last winter even. And these are the ones that failed. So there's a whole bunch of them. And I took all the empty ones, pulled the old whips out of there that didn't survive, and then just did pomegranates. And there's the honey. So, yeah, kind of a mess. I'll get it all cleaned up, but these are all available pots. And that's another concept, is when you're doing this propagation thing, when you're building your food forest, you want to use your tools. Your pots are tools. You want to keep them working. If all you have is dead sticks in your pots, then that's not helping you build your food forest. That's not to say that you give up on them, abandon the project, and you know, pull your canes before they have a chance to root. But you want to cut your losses at a certain point. So these are all in these little smaller pots here. Pomegranates that aren't going to make it. And you can kind of crack them and bend them. And actually there's still a little bit of spring in this one. It might have actually produced roots, but you can kind of see it's not likely. It's rotten all the way up to that first fork. Sorry about the focus, but so that's bunk. Start over. Plant some acorns, some natives too, like elderberry is a native. Get some native plants in the soil around your area, that, especially ones that are productive. Kind of like this. Coastal live oaks. Take a long time to grow. Until the soil's healthy. We even have an acorn that's beginning to germinate there. So I'll take that one, stick it in there. That one will be an oak tree. Hopefully by the time I get around to it, it's germinated and it's growing. But, you know, do the best with what you got. Keep it moving. You don't need lots of progress, you just need a little bit of progress. I learned that from one of my old bosses, Mr. Newman. He's like, I don't care how much you do, as long as we're making progress and moving forward. We had different people with different athletic abilities. Some people would really crank out a lot of production. Some people weren't physically capable of that. They were able to do other things though, like notice things, because they weren't so busy doing physical labor. They were more intellectual, analytical, and they would notice things. And sometimes noticing those things is more valuable than, you know, just doing the physical labor. It's a blend of the two. So keep it moving. Thanks for watching.